The lead up to Joel's death in The Last of Us 2 SJW Deluxe Edition honestly solidifies to me that Neil Druckmann is an absolute disgrace who has zero idea what he's doing. As per the new leaks that have just come out, Joel and Tommy, who were previously hunters might I add, all of a sudden introduced themselves and even worse, help an unknown person, which would end up being the roided up empowered edgelord Abby Zilla who they just met. So you mean to tell me, after 30 years of being a marauder, he gives his name, location, and then turns his back on complete strangers in a sealed off room? Yeah, Joel risked his own life to save a random stranger and follows them into their hideout in blind trust. Which makes no sense because if you remember in the first game, Joel runs over a guy pretending to need help who turns out to be a hunter, trying to trap them because Joel knows how fucked up the world is. But in The Last of Us Part 2, he completely turns into a soy boy and does the exact opposite. I mean, bravo, brilliant, consistent writing right there. So he goes into the sealed off room, gets his kneecaps blown off by a shotgun, and gets clobbered by a golf club, which is pretty hard to watch, but this has to be the worst twist in a video game I've ever seen. But then again, this is what happens when you hire another one of those chosen one developers. They should have just made a new IP and left The Last of Us alone. You know what? Here's an idea. I'm actually gonna help the dumbass latte sipping queen known as Druckmann and tell him how he should have done it. Why not have Joel risk his life by rescuing Ellie but ends up trapped in a deceptive ambush by She-Hulk and ends up dying, but that's not until he takes down half of her gang. That would be a much better fitting end to that character. Or you can keep doing whatever the hell you're doing. I mean, I already want to dig my eyes out with a spoon after looking at those leaks. I mean, you know it's bad when your game is being compared to Game of Thrones Season 8. Look, it was hilariously predictable what these critic sites were gonna give it. No game is a masterpiece, no game is perfect. If you watch the IGN review, it's almost as if Naughty Dog wrote a script for that video. Either that or Anita Sarkeesian had a gun to this guy's head. Because that review didn't have a single piece of criticism. These game journalists, and I use the word journalist very loosely, have zero credibility. If you're going to be biased, at least don't make it that obvious. But then again, that's just another demonstration of the uselessness of these professional reviewers. You can bribe the critics, but you cannot bribe the consumers because that score is going to tank so hard once people get the game in their hands. The Metacritic user reviews for this thing is gonna be very interesting. That's if Naughty Dog and Sony don't find a way to censor that as well. If anything, this is a giant message to everyone to stop pre-ordering games. Wait at least one day from release and you'll see hundreds of reviews from independent people who aren't shills that want to stay in the good graces of good old Sony and Naughty Dog. And on that bombshell, thank you for watching. Manix out.